How do you rekindle a love that has faded away? Coming up next, right here on The Right Stuff. You are listening to the best, the only place to be on Tuesday night. That's right, you're listening to The Right Stuff, and you're at the right place at the right time. From England to Canada, from Detroit to the Poconos, we are showcasing Christian authors worldwide, giving you tips, tools, techniques, and resources for you, the writer, to hone and perfect your craft. Tune in every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time right here on WPJC 104.5. And your host, Parker J. Cole. Hi, and welcome to the show. I am so excited you're able to join me for this edition of The Right Stuff. We are going to be talking to author today, T.I. Lowe, and her newest release, Until I Do. So stay tuned right there, and we'll get to it in just a few moments. As always, I want to thank you for your support of my books, Many Strange Women, The Other Man, Vengeful Vows, The Cure, and all the other books I've written. Thank you so much for enjoying them and letting me know how you feel about them. My newest book is set to be released very soon, called Time to Say Goodbye. If you'd like to get an ARC copy of that book, simply sign up for my newsletter. And as my gift to you for signing up for my newsletter, I'll go ahead and give you an ARC copy of Time to Say Goodbye. You can sign up for my newsletter at parkerjcole.com. I'm looking forward to next week, because next week I will be at the Southern California Christian Writers Conference. I've been talking about this conference for months. You are going to enjoy it. You still have time to register. So go ahead and go to Southern California Christian Writers Conference. Simply Google it in, and you can register for the conference. There's going to be a lot of people there. You're going to be a lot of your authors I've had on this show. Some of your favorite authors. You had a chance to meet me. I'll be doing 2 workshops there. I'm just looking so forward to going to this conference. Been talking about it for a while. You still have time to register, so go ahead, type in Southern California Christian Writers Conference, register for the conference. You will not be disappointed. Today is a pre-recorded show, so we will not be taking any callers today. However, we want to always invite you to call in, listen in by calling in at 646-668-8485. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break, and we'll be right back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guests on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Have you read the latest issue of Sormag Digital, the award-winning literary magazine for multicultural readers and writers? Sormag Digital is available quarterly and showcases interviews with the best authors in multicultural literature. Sormag Digital features craft and business articles for those interested in writing. If you're looking for a good book, check out our book reviews on what's hot in multicultural literature. For writers looking for new readers to get in front of, Sormag Digital is the perfect place to introduce your book. We offer advertising spaces that fit your promotional budget. Get your free subscription on sormag.com or order a print issue on magcloud.com. If you would like more information about Sormag Digital, check us out on sormag.com or contact us at sormag@yahoo.com. Sormag Digital is the magazine for multicultural readers and writers.
Question: if you write a book, everybody will rush out to buy it. Obvious answer: no. If you were a celebrity or if you had a huge marketing budget, then maybe you can get a lot of exposure for your book. Another solution would be to check out joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com is a promotion and marketing service with access to over 1/3 of a million followers on Twitter. joeytweets.com has 3 packages available to fit any budget. That's joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com. Get some serious exposure for your books.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Right Stuff here on WPJC 104.5. Again, so glad you are able to join me for this edition. Today's show is pre-recorded, so we will not be taking any calls today, but still you can listen in by calling in at 646-668-8485. You know, one thing I'm always excited to talk about on the show is about marriage, it's about relationships, and this is no different. As we talk to my guest co-host and contributor today, T.I. Lowe, she is the author of her newest release called Until I Do. It's book 1 of the Resolution series, so I can't wait to delve and dig into this book. So without further ado, I want to introduce T.I. Lowe. T, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me.
And I'm glad that you took time out of your very busy schedule to be with me on this show. I'm always excited to talk to new authors and introduce new authors to our listeners, so thanks for being with me. And I want people to know a little bit about you, so go ahead and tell us about yourself in your own words.
Well, first and foremost, I am a full-time mama. You know, those 2 kids of mine, they're my treasures from heaven. Nathan, he's almost 16, and Lydia, she is almost 11. I got 2 summer babies. So first and foremost, it's, you know, all of them, and I have stayed at home with them, which of course they're not home anymore. You know, they go to school. So 3 years ago, I actually started giving in and pursuing my dream of writing. So I am new to this author world, only 3 years in so far, and God's just blessed it greatly. I've got, I believe, 12 books so far out there, and it's just been going great. And this new book, Until I Do, just released on my wedding anniversary, June 8th, 20 years marriage. So we celebrated it with the book, and me and my sweetie, we snuck away to Savannah for a few days to celebrate my anniversary. So it's a very personal book to me.
I'm excited to talk about it. I was when you say you've been married 20 years, I just celebrated 10 years May 21st, and I know what that hurdle is like when you, I'm very blessed. There's been ups and downs, lots of roads, and I know what it has been for me having difficulties in my marriage at times. So I love to talk about marriage and talk about relationships, and so I'm very excited to talk about this book. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about your writing books. So someone may be new to your writing. So what type of books do you like that you write, T?
I write Christian contemporary fiction. Most of them have a good bit of sweet romance in it, but I tend to address real-life situations. So far, Lily's Cafe dealt with domestic violence. My Coming Home Again series dealt with rape and childhood rape. So I try to keep it real. I want to put some books out there where, you know, people can relate to them, and they can be inspired that, you know, if a lot of my readers have come back to me and said these books are real life. They feel like they walk away with a lot from it. So I know that God's using my words in the right way, and so far that's going great. And I don't know about you, Parker, but life is so hectic and life is so serious. So I really feel like that you have to have some humor in life. So I try to work that in each book. It may be, you know, heavy topics, but I always like to wiggle in a little bit of humor in there. So a lot of my reviews said that they're laughing 1 minute and crying the next, and then they're laughing again. So I take that as a compliment.
I hear you. I think life is too serious. Yeah, I totally think that we do have to have that humor. I know there was a old movie, which is one of my favorite old movies of all time, called All This in Heaven Too, with Betty Davis and Charles Boyer. And in the movie, he says, there's tragedy enough in the world. I don't think we have to buy our tears, you know. And I always love that line in that movie. So I totally feel you there. Sometimes that's my favorite movie of all time. I never watch the end because it's sad. So I only watch up to like one half of the movie, and I stop because I like that part. But I totally feel you there. And I like that you get realistic fiction, because one of the gripes or one of the complaints that has been toward Christian fiction is that it's so unrealistic. Now, there are those out there who do want that escape from real life, and that's why I think the books are preference. They want to have, you know, at least in this book, everyone acts right. At least in this book, no one has these kind of questions of faith or doubts and stuff like that. And that's fine. I always say it's the reader's preference what they want. But those of us who like to read realistic fiction and be invigorated by it, we like those type of books that touch on those heavy issues. Do you think, just as a Christian author, do you think that a lot more authors are going toward writing realistic fiction?
A lot of my Christian friends are exactly what you said. They want to write realistic, but there's this. I don't know about you, but the Christian genre is a tough one to write for. It's really hard to find your niche in it. And my sweet friend, one of my favorite authors, Christina Coriel, she is she writes Christian fiction as well as I do, but she said that she's being led to write more realistic.
Oh, okay.
And so I feel the same way. I want to keep it real. You know, my characters are flawed. They go through difficult times, just like this book, Until I Do. Each marriage, it may look good on the outside, but realistically, we all have our ups and downs. And I want people to read this book and see, so this couple had these situations, they dealt with it, and I hope that it inspires them to not give up on marriage, because marriage, it's not easy. I love my husband Bernie. I love him to pieces, but sometimes I just want to pinch his head off. But and it's so easy. I feel like a lot of times people don't realize how much work a marriage is, and they walk away from it. But I tell you what, if you stick it out, I'm not saying all situations you should stick it out, but if you put the work in it, man, oh man, is it rewarding? It really is.
You make a good point there. Yeah, you make a good point there. I was thinking about, how I've been married for 10 years, and, I was looking, I put it on my Facebook even, there's a picture of me and my husband from when we got first married 6 months after we got married. We were bright and smiling and happy and all this other kind of stuff. And then I look at that picture now, 10 years later, and I'm thinking, wow, that girl back there was an idiot. You know what I mean? She has so many high hopes. She kept thinking that there is going to be this happily ever after scenario where we never argue, never have issues. And wow, she was an idiot when I look at that picture. And my husband looked at it.
That's too funny you said that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the truth. My husband looked at it and he's like, wow, we look so different. I said, no. I said, no, we just look so young. We look young, not just in physical appearance, but just in our understanding what we thought marriage was. So, like you said, if you stick it out and work with it, that's good. So one thing you mentioned is that marriage is work, and it's like people aren't committed to making it work anymore. It's almost as if we've romanticized the idea of marriage at the wedding and the proposal and the engagement, which is beautiful. We're not knocking that. I had a big wedding, had a beautiful proposal, had a 1-year engagement. So, I understand the nuances of having the superficial things of that marriage work. But then after the wedding, after the honeymoon, I think that's when the marriage actually begins. But correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. I think that's when it begins, because afterwards you start to live together, for those who didn't live together before, but you live together, and then you start to go, oh my gosh, why doesn't he do this? Or he goes, wow, she looks weird. When in the morning she looks like she got hit by a bus, and so all these little things happen, and then money problems, and then life issues, and then relatives and kids and all this other kind of stuff comes into play. And so when you wrote the book Until I Do, were you addressing that these different scenarios that pop up in a marriage can lead to love fading away?
I think it leads to it being neglected. You get so wrapped up in family, you get wrapped up in careers, you get wrapped up in our, you lose sight of your marriage, I think, sometimes. I mean, and I think it could happen in younger marriages. I could go back to when me and Bernie celebrated 5 years of marriage. It was a really rocky time because it was a financial, we were young. We were 21-year-old idiots. When you said that, our neighbors come over the other day and they saw our wedding picture. And they said, oh, look how cute you were. I said, we were two 21-year-old idiots in that picture. So when you said y'all were idiots, I had to laugh. But so our focus then and our troubles then was financial, because, trying to find out the hurdles of it all. And then, later on, we started having children, and then, the hurdles of how do you work these two new people into your relationship? So I think I think you can lose your way in different parts of a marriage. Now, me and Bernie just celebrated 20, and he's just started a new career 2 years ago. I just started a new career 3 years ago, and so we're trying to figure out that part of our lives. And it's funny, we'll go out to eat, and I say, well, we just sit there and look at each other like, who are you again? Because you just get so wrapped up in life. But I just feel like, any stage of marriage, you can find where you're going to have these kind of hurdles.
Yeah. I resonate with that as you talk about it. I want to talk about, in this particular book, it's part of the resolution series. So before we get into Till I Do, what is the aim of the resolution series? What is your aim to do with that whole series?
They reflect, there's going to be 3 books total. The first book, of course, is Bode and Maya's story, and their resolution is to get their marriage back on track. Okay. They'll go through each marriage vow through the book, and I think it's very sweet, and it's actually pretty romantic on how they figure out through those marriage vows, it leads them back to one another. Mm-hmm. And then the second book is going to be about Maya's sister, and she meets a war veteran, and of course he has all kinds of baggage from that, and wounds inside as well as out, and so their resolution is to overcome the physical and internal wounds that life has inflicted on them. Mm-hmm. And then the third book is going to be about a fella that you're going to meet in Until I Do, and he's on. I want you to consider he is the bad guy in the first 2 books, and I like the idea of him finding a resolution to straighten his life out. So I wanted to give him a second chance, because a lot of times you have that one that you always got to have someone to root for in the book. You always got to have someone. I always tell my husband, I says, most of the time you're going to have to kill off somebody in a book. But then you always got that person that you despise or you hate. And I hate to use the word hate because it's a strong word, but despise that person. You know what I'm saying? The bad guy.
I do. Mm-hmm.
And
but then you love to hate them.
Those side characters. Do what?
I said sometimes you love to hate them, though.
Oh, I know. But those side characters, you don't see what happens to them. It's almost, So I wanted to dive into his story and to give him a resolution on getting his life straightened out.
So the whole series is about resolutions then. So the whole series is about making resolutions to do something better about that particular couple or that particular life. So that's exciting.
Yeah,
when we get back from the other side of break, we'll be talking more to T.I. Lowe and her newest book, Until I Die. So again, this is pre-recorded, so you can still continue to listen in by calling in at 646-668-8485. And then if you want to share the link, you can certainly share the link on your social media pages. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Hi. Is your book club in need of some fresh and exciting questions to ask club members and authors at your next book club meeting? Literations, the book conversation game, is 70 thought-provoking questions to really get into an in-depth discussion about the books you and your club members are reading. These questions really get into the characters, the storyline, and into the author's head. These questions may just give you and your book club members a whole new way to get into a new conversation, a literation. Literations is also a great set of tools for bloggers, interviewers, and authors to use a discussion question. Are you ready to get lit? Please visit our website at litversations.com, litversation.com. And please like our Facebook page at Simply Said Reading Accessories.
Have you read the latest issue of SORMAG Digital, the award-winning literary magazine for multicultural readers and writers? SORMAC Digital is available quarterly and showcases interviews with the best authors in multicultural literature. SORMAC Digital features craft and business articles for those interested in writing. If you're looking for a good book, check out our book reviews on what's hot in multicultural literature. For writers looking for a new reader to get in front of, SORMAC Digital is the perfect place to introduce your book. We offer advertising spaces that fit your promotional budget. Get your free subscription on SORMAC.com or order a print issue on magcloud.com. If you would like more information about SORMAC Digital, check us out on SORMAC.com or contact us at SORMAC@yahoo.com. SORMAC Digital is the magazine for multicultural readers and writers.
Engaging the culture's imagination through speculative fiction, the Untold Podcast produces audio fiction from a Christian worldview. Find us over at untoldpodcast.com, where we partner with authors to tell science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, and horror stories. Find links at untoldpodcast.com to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, and a variety of other platforms. Each month we produce high-quality audio fiction that's free to download and free to listen. Our submissions are open, and we're always looking to add another great story to over 24 hours of narrative entertainment. Find all of our audio fiction over at www.untoldpodcast.com.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Right Stuff here on WPJC 104.5. Again, so glad you're here with me for this edition of The Right Stuff. We are talking today to author T.I. Lowe and her newest book, Until I Do. It is book 1 of the Resolution series, so you definitely want to go ahead, love on my sister today, and get a copy of her book. You're not going to be disappointed. And then check out her other works as well. And T, once again, thanks for being with me on the show to talk about your newest release, Until I Do. What I really like about the title is that it really brings to mind vows. And I thought about when I made my vows to my husband, he made his to me. We both said, I will. And then we like it saying I do. You know, we like the term I do, but we said I will at our marriage ceremony. And so go ahead and tell us a little bit about Until I Do.
Well, Until I Do is about Maya and Bode Calder. And this is a couple that's been married 20 years. And they are going through a struggle in their marriage. They're just the 40-somethings, that's newly empty nesters, and they both seem lost. They're a little bit lost on where they go from there. Poor Bode, he deals with depression, and his depression makes him withdraw from his wife. And then on the effects of that is Maya feels neglected. So she goes out her way, he goes his way, and so come Christmas time, their children's had enough of it, and they said the only Christmas present they wanted was for them to fix whatever they broke in their marriage. And so this leads them to visit their pastor, and while they visit him, he gives them a copy of their marriage vows, and he wants them to go back through it. And I was telling my husband about it on our way home from our trip from Savannah the other day about one of my favorite scenes is after this, they're going home and Mia, she starts reading through the vows. And the first one she comes to is the have and the hold. And she looks at Bode, she's like, what in the world does that even mean? She says, I have gone and made vows to you on something. I have no idea what it means. So, he, of course, you know, I told you I've put humor in my book, so they just got back home, and so he drops to his knees and he wraps his arms around her, and he says, I've got a hold of you. That's what it means. But anyway, that is not what it meant, and so, you know, they dive into each part of it, and they, through situations that occurs during this time, they rediscover what those vows mean, and by the end of the book, they've gone through each vow, and it actually brings them back together. So it's something different for me because, you know, normally a book you don't start with a couple together in it. You start with woman meets, or, you know, girl meets guy. They end up falling in love, hopefully sometime during the book, and they live happily ever after. With this one, they're already together, so it was a little bit different trying to figure that out. But I really feel like through this, it's a surprisingly romantic book. these two coming back together. And, I hope the readers will feel that way about it.
Well, I'm sure they will, because we can all relate to, okay, at the end of the story, there's happily ever after. That's what we want. But what happens after happily ever after? The fairy tale always ends with Cinderella running off with Prince Charming. But what happened after she, her and Prince Charming have been together for a while, and she looks up one day, he's not so charming. You know what I mean? So,
no doubt. She's tired of picking up all his socks and him sitting in front of the TV and da-da-da and da-da-da.
And he's still Prince Charming, but Prince Charming just has, he took off his crown and set it somewhere on the mantle. It's just not there anymore. And so, and then for the man's point of view, Cinderella was beautiful and gorgeous and pretty and all those things. And then, he wakes up and he sees, the crypt keeper sometimes in the morning.
And she talks so sweet to him, and now she's nag.
So it goes both ways. Prince Charming wakes up to the regular girl, and Cinderella wakes up to the regular guy, and then that you can still love through that. And I think that's really important on that. I like how you said.
I'm glad you made that point.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm glad you made that point about it's both ways. And when I went into this book, I didn't want it to be all Mia, all of her part of it, because you're a 10-year marriage, I'm a 20-year marriage. Someone in a 1-year marriage, they're going to realize it's not all one person. It's both. Not one person holds all the, I'm not going to say guilt, but you know what I'm saying. It's
sure.
Both sides. So this story actually it's Maya and Bode's point of view. One chapter is Maya, the next chapter is Bode, because I really wanted people to not hate Bode or not hate, Maya. I wanted them to understand both sides of the story, because, a lot of times we think each other should just read our minds, like your spouse should read your mind on what's going on with you. So this book, I wanted to make sure both sides of this story is told. So I wanted to, when you said that, it's not all one or the other. It's both sides of it. So I'm glad you pointed that out.
And it makes sense, because both of us in the marriage, we both contribute to the success of it, and we both contribute to the failure of it.
Exactly.
There are very few occasions. I think there are very, very few occasions where one person is the sole responsibility of it. I think very few occasions, but we both contribute to its success or its failure, and I think that's important too. I like how you mentioned, what does it mean to have and to hold. And as soon as you said, I said, gee, I wonder what that means. So I'm really excited that you. I thought about that too. Like, what does it mean to have and to hold? What does that mean? And so I'm very excited for your book here. You just came out on June 8th. And I'm very excited for it. So I want our listeners today to go ahead and buy a copy of T's book. You're gonna love it, first of all, because she's taking a relatable character in the situations where you've been married for 1 year or 10 or 20 or 30 or 60. T, I think I've said this before on the show too. There is a couple that I read about that have been married for, I believe, 85 years, some kind of number like that. And I couldn't imagine being married that long. I just couldn't imagine. And I was sitting there, and she was, at the time when I read it several years ago now, she was 99, and he was 101. And she said she just had a lot of advice. Well, not even a lot of advice, but very simple advice. She said, make sure you love each other, listen to each other, and try not to argue, just something like that. But then she said when they have been married for 20 years, the arguing has stopped, because when their 20-year anniversary hit, it was like the 1940s or something like that. And then when he got sick, things got very real for her. Like, I don't want to lose this man that I've been married to for such a long time. And so I was sitting there, and I was like, imagine being married for 80-something years. We think at 10 and 20 it's hard. 80 years.
80.
It just boggles my mind, But then the article went on to say how the way they did it was kind of cute. They said, and this couple begat these how many children. They begat more children. So she had like 28 grandkids and like 12 kids and all this other stuff. And then 3 of her children maybe she has 7 kids. I can't remember, but 3 of her children have been married for over 60 years. Like 3 of their children have been married for over 60 years.
Oh, wow.
In their own marriages. And so that longevity of marriage.
They could write a book, huh?
Yes, they could. And I was like, so the mom's dad been married for 80-something years. The kids, 3 of their kids been married for 60-something years. And you're sitting there going, oh, my goodness, you know. And it's a beautiful story because we know it can happen, but what do they go through? And I'm glad that you are using your book to bring that about. So real quickly, before we get to the end of our show here, I want people to know about your writing process because this show, T, is always about encouraging writers to write. So what does your writing process look like? Do you plot? Are you a pantser? Do you do research? Do you have to get into a certain mode? Do you use a particular technique? Just go ahead and tell us what your writing process looks like.
Well, we've talked about it. I'm a full-time mama, and so in the beginning of this thing, it was either I was writing in the car writer line on a notepad, or getting up first thing in the morning before they got up to write in a notepad. So it actually started just writing in notepads. And I've had some author friends, and they're like, "You write longhanded?" And I actually find it very soothing to write it out in a notepad. So I've got different journals for probably 4 different books right now. And when I feel led to write about that book in particular, I'll jot something down in that journal for that book. And so a lot of times I've wrote most of the book longhanded before I even come to the computer and sit down. So I have a pile of these journals and notepads that one day I'll get to pass down to my children. So I know that's a little odd, but I hope any writer can take from that is you don't have to sit in front of a computer all day long to be a writer. You know, write it in a notepad if you need be. But that's an odd process, maybe in most eyes, but that's actually how I do it. And I do like to. I am not well traveled, but if I'm going to write about a certain region, I know Pat Conroy is a Southern author, and I read one it's a memoir that he wrote about my reading life. He said you don't have to, with fiction, you don't have to be 100% accurate, but you need to sound 100% accurate on a place or a fact. I didn't quote it just right, but I love that quote about, it was very encouraging to me. So I like to study a different region where I'm going to be writing. The book I'm writing currently is set in Virginia, so I've been scoping Virginia out. So I do like to research places. When I wrote one book, Julia's Journey, and they went on a road trip, and they ended up in Savannah, and they did a crazy ghost tour, and they did a few other things. So I did a lot of research online, and it was fun. Me and my husband was there this past week, and I got to walk in the footsteps of my characters that I envisioned online, and it actually felt like it was coming to life. So that was pretty sweet. So that's my process. I don't know if it makes any sense or not.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to conform to anything, which is what I like about the freedom of being a writer, is that our processes are different. Too. I know for myself, I actually write longhand too. When I can't think, like, cause I still have a day job, so I work, and so I'm in front of the computer all day, and sometimes to come back home to the computer, it would burn my eyes out. And so sometimes when I write longhand, my thoughts actually flow a little bit better. Just as a quick tangent topic, in one of my books, the one scene I wrote a completely longhand when I was, I always say this, I used to be addicted to Mountain Dew. I was high off of Mountain Dew, and I was tired. And so I was writing longhand, and literally I did not care what came out. I just wanted to finish this book. And so what happened, I finished that section, and I got a lot of feedback saying, wow, that was a really intense part. And I'm like, really? I wasn't quite there when I wrote it because I wrote it all longhand, and I had a sugar buzz from Mountain Dew, and I was tired. That's a lethal combination when you do that. So I totally resonate with your writing process there. We're going to go ahead and take a really quick break, and when we come back, we'll be having our final thoughts with T. and her book, Until I Do, and you'll also have a chance to find her online. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guests on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Authors, are you looking for a new way to get your book in the hands of new audience of targeted buyers? Then a virtual book tour is for you. Right now, virtual book tours is an excellent opportunity for you to introduce your book and who you are as an author. Launching your book is very important. A virtual book tour will connect you with readers. We at WNL, we specialize in book tours, book blasts, radio tours, cover reveals, and Facebook chat. Promoting and marketing your book is what we do. Online publicity, the exposure and the publicity is what you need. Let us help you reach new readers and a new audience. We take care of everything so you don't have to. We set up the tour for you. We connect you with bloggers to advertise your book by way of interviews, guest posts, and reviews. If you are an author of a newly published book, have an upcoming release, or just want to give a previously published book new life, a virtual book tour is your answer. Check our tours out at www.wnlbooktours.com. Visit me on Facebook. I am the owner, Paulette Harper.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. I'm so glad you were able to join us for this edition of the show. We've been talking to T.I. Lowe. She is the author of the new book, Until I Do. It's available on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. And T, once again, thanks for being with me on the show. It's been really great talking to you. You know, I want people to have a chance to find you online. So where can we find you?
We can find me on all the social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, just looking for T.I. Lowe. And then, of course, I've got a website. It's got all my books on it. I do a blog on there under Coffee Cup. It's just, you know, us meeting together with a cup of coffee and, you know, my random thoughts on things. But that's TILowe.com. And, of course, you can contact me there. And after this radio show, if the first 3 that contact me through contact and they mention the radio show, I will actually give them a free copy of Until I Do.
Oh, wow. So we got a nice little incentive there. So if you listen to the show and you go ahead and get a chance to get a copy of that, if you sign up for the contact her. So go ahead and give us your final thoughts about writing.
Well, if there is one piece of advice I can give to writers, or, you know, aspiring writers, writers that's already writing, a lot of times I feel like they fret on what people want of them, and I feel like that holds them back. You've got to have freedom in your writing. So if there's anything I can tell you is write what you're led to write, not what you think people want you to write. So just put that to the side, what you think the world wants from you, and just write what you're led to write.
I like how you said that, write what you're led to write, not what people want and think you should write. I think that is one of the biggest hurdles in Christian fiction, is that they think Christian fiction needs to be a certain way. They think it needs to be that way instead of just writing the way you should write. And I think that's very important. So I'm really glad you shared that with our aspiring authors, T. And once again, thank you so much for being with us on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been great. I've enjoyed it.
We were talking today to T.I. Lowe. She is the author of the book Until I Do, which is available now on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Go ahead, love on my sister, and get a copy of her book today. And if you are one of the first 3 to sign up to contact her via her website, guess what? You're going to get a free copy of Until I Do. So go ahead, sign up, contact her via her website, let her know what you thought about her books or any of her books, or just contact her and say hi. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and contact her today at her website. Thank you so much for joining me for this edition of The Right Stuff. I am the queen of Tuesday nights, Parker J., and you have a wonderful, absolutely glorious, blessed day. Thank you for joining us for this edition of The Right Stuff. Follow Parker online at parkerjcole.com. To hear this show and other shows, visit the show archive at therightstuffradio.wordpress.com. We'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.